The views and opinions expressed by the host of this podcast are solely of their own and do not necessarily reflect the views, opinions, and policies of their employees, affiliates, sponsors, or any other entities associated with them. The content provided in this podcast is for information and entertainment purposes only and should not be construed as professional advice. Listeners are encouraged to independently verify any information discussed and consult with their appropriate professionals and advice tailored to their specific circumstances. Now enjoy the podcast.
I do, because I have been reading a book. I haven't worked my way through it completely yet, so it's all kind of still a jumbly to do, but it's good information, and it's crazy at how much we don't really know about our feelings. So, the book that I'm reading is Permission to Feel by Dr. Mark Brackett. He is the director at the Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence. So, Yale has a specific program dedicated to emotional intelligence.
Welcome to That's On That podcast, where we navigate the twists and turns of this unpredictable journey and are inviting you to join us in candid conversations, heartfelt reflections, and even a few laughs along the way. I'm Leo, your co-host, and I'm here with Bree. Let's get to the podcast.
Hey.
Hello. How are we?
I'm good. How are you?
All right.
Okay. But how are you doing? Like, for real?
Another normal day, you know?
Okay. Well, I'm glad you're kind of unsure about how you're feeling, I guess, because that's what I wanted to talk to you about today.
Feel fine.
Which is emotional skills and emotional intelligence, and really being able to identify how we're feeling, why we're feeling that way, and what to do about it.
Okay. I see where you're going here. I see what you did there.
Are you familiar with emotional intelligence and having emotional skills?
Sadly, I was taught about emotional intelligence after college.
Okay.
Literally hadn't heard the term emotional intelligence, but I have not heard the term emotional skills. Do you want to tell me about this?
I do. Because I have been reading a book. I haven't worked my way through it completely yet, so it's all kind of still a jumbly to do, but it's good information, and it's crazy at how much we don't really know about our feelings. So, the book that I'm reading is Permission to Feel by Dr. Mark Brackett. He is the director at the Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence. So, Yale has a specific program dedicated to emotional intelligence.
Holy crap.
Crazy.
People study everything, but it's about human nature. It's something that's very natural to us. So, psychology is a topic. Why not emotional intelligence?
It is. And this is in the realm of that. He is a psychologist. Very fitting for his field.
Yeah.
So, one thing that I found pretty interesting about that is, number one, do you know how many emotions? Well, okay, hold on. Let me backtrack a little bit. So, much like the conversation that we just had, right? Hi, how are you? Right? How are you feeling?
I'm doing great now. No, I'm just kidding.
Great.
I feel fantastic.
Okay. Cool. Fantastic. That's good. That's a good emotion, right? Great. Maybe it's kind of, I liken it still in the realm of yeah, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah.
But for real, Cecil, how are you? Did you know I've read somewhere that there's 27 different identifiable emotions.
27 emotions that one person can have.
Yeah.
I'm sure I have 4, and I've only practiced 2 of them. What do you mean there's 27? There's 23 that I haven't even tapped into yet?
Yeah, probably. So in this book, actually in the back, they've got a chart showing how many various emotions. That's more than 27. Okay, and these range in scale on, you know, high energy to low energy emotions,
Mm-hmm.
right? Pleasantness to low pleasantness to high pleasantness. So you've got, I feel grateful, feel at ease, I feel playful, I feel proud, I feel tense or stunned or angry or sad or bored or apathetic. That's just a handful that I pulled off of a page
I have never
real
used,
quick.
whenever I was asked that question, I've never used any of those. But I'm about to. You're about to educate me,
You're
and I'm about
about to, because we gonna learn today
to.
just on how to um, what's the word, recognize
Yeah.
our emotions.
Okay. Gotcha.
That's
How do we
actually
do
a
that?
part of actually what we're going to learn. Okay,
Okay.
so Dr. Brackett and his team have developed this approach, um, more of a framework, if you will, to identify and acknowledge and understand and be able to take action on our emotions. And that method that they've developed, it's an acronym. And we know from our lovely military time, we love our acronyms.
Love some
So
acronyms.
the acronym is RULER, RULER,
Okay.
and that stands for recognizing, understanding, labeling, expressing, and regulating emotion.
Okay.
Okay?
And this is all, ruler is the method of identifying your emotions or how to like control them.
Both. So
Okay.
the
Gotcha.
first three, the RUL, the
Mm-hmm.
recognize, understand, and label, help you identify and kind of decode what you're feeling and why you're feeling it. That's your
Okay.
what and your why. The last two, your um, expressing and regulating, help to manage them, right? So that's your actual taking action on what you're going to do with the information that you just got from those first three,
I like this.
right?
I like this.
It's super cool, super fun.
And why did Dr. What's His Name even like think of this? Has he put it into practice or anything like that? Like, where the heck did this come from?
So that's a great question. He actually, so in the book he starts off by telling essentially a story of his childhood. He had some traumatic events that went on that he didn't necessarily handle very well because he wasn't in an environment that was conducive to it. He was really shown, so the way that, and this is why he does a lot with children, because
Hmm.
children don't have necessarily all the cognitive function of their prefrontal cortex to be able to acknowledge kind of what's going on and make logical decisions based off of the emotions and the things that are going on, right? So oftentimes, what do you see when you have a kid, a young kid, maybe like a child or an adolescent that is feeling big feelings, but they don't know what they are
Yeah. Like
and they don't know
screaming,
what to
just
do with
pounding
them?
or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna like lash out or even withdraw from everyone. They develop bad eating behaviors because that's just like their visceral reaction to what it is. And
Life.
if you,
Yeah. I want to pause you real quick before, so keep that thought.
yep,
But it's interesting that you said he's doing this with kids because now it makes sense why it's called a skill. So if you can't naturally develop those emotions because you're supposed to be older and mature and you're practicing this as a kid, then it is legitimately a skill that you can acquire at your younger age. So like that's a really cool thought that I don't know. I just had. I'm assuming that's what route he took.
yeah, yeah. Um, and the nice thing about skills is it's easier to learn as children because we have a little bit more elasticity to our brains than as we get older because that all gets a little bit stiffer.
Yeah.
But we can still learn them as adults.
Mm-hmm.
Just takes more reps
Yep.
and sets. It's not
Yeah.
impossible. Sometimes
Myelin
harder
sheath.
because we've got a lot of baggage to work through with it,
Right. Right.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway, so kids have this like visceral reaction and they do things that they sometimes can't, not all kids, mind you, but they can't always put to words or really express what's going on inside that's making them do the things on the outside, right? So what really like tripped the trigger for him in making a change in his life, right? So he underwent trauma and lashed out, got bad grades, dealt with some eating issues in school as a young person, and his parents, instead of, and this is a lot of parents in no fault of their own, it's just we don't know these things, hence why he probably wrote the book. Because parents do what parents do, and it's, this punishment, right, for getting the bad grades or for lashing out and talking badly and talking back to your parent. You get punished for that. Well, that just teaches the kid, I have to shove what I feel deep down. I can't feel this because I'm just going to get in trouble.
Guilty. That's why I have 4 of them.
Same. I dealt with that a lot. The big thing, like for me in my house, was go to your room, right? Go to your room. You can't play nice? Go to your room. I'm an introvert now. I love isolation.
I love my room.
Love my room. Love my room. So now that we're adults, we get to learn how to properly kind of handle these things. So getting into ruler.
That's what I was going to ask. You're going to run us down the letters that you gave me?
Heck yeah. So ruler, recognizing emotion, is your first R. Okay, this is where we notice a change. We notice there is I did this. I talked about this a little bit in one of our previous episodes, where it's like I was just having a day at work and I lashed out at my friend, and immediately I was like, "Oh, that's not normal for me." Okay, right? So I noticed now I'm acting differently. What's going on? Yeah. Okay, so recognize the emotion, and you can do this primarily with yourself, but we also do this with other people. It's a little bit harder because the only thing that we have to go on with other people is body language, their physical appearance, how they carry themselves. Or if it's somebody that we know well, we kind of like, we know them well. We have kind of an intuition with them. But that's going to be clue number 1, that you're dealing with an emotion, is when you notice a change in behavior. And this is where you need to take a beat. Take a step back, take a pause, and ask yourself how you're feeling. Like, what do I feel in this moment that made me do that thing? Yeah. Am I feeling up or down? It doesn't have to be the specific, right? We just discussed there's a whole vocabulary of emotions that majority of people don't know about. Keep it simple, right? Am I up? Am I down? Am I happy? Am I sad? Do I want to approach the world, or do I want to run away to my little hidey hole and not talk to a soul?
And you said that there's an element where you can do this by yourself, like self-reflection, but there's also an element that you can like kind of gauge this with others. How would you suggest we approach that with others? Like ask the person, obviously, how you're feeling. You kind of check in on that today.
That's an option. One thing that I like to do, and this could be kind of my empathetic self, because I do tend to be more of a very empathetic person, is in that moment, if I were to have somebody tell me or do to me what was just done to them, how would I feel? There's a flip to that, because not everybody feels things the same way and not everybody takes things the same way, but you can get kind of a gauge, at least, that, well, something might be off. We might need to take a step back and talk about this. Does that make sense?
Yep. No, I got you.
Okay. So this is important because the remainder of these steps within the ruler acronym are really kind of a waste if we don't know what we're actually dealing with. So step number 1 is going to be to like identify
Yeah.
what.
I can kind of relate this like in my like consulting business
Mhm.
because like the first thing that I have to do whenever I walk in the door is like assess the issue. And although someone might tell me the issue, like we actually have to find the root. Because if we're trying to fix another issue or another problem, then you won't actually get to what's actually going on. So like my logical brain always goes there because I only have so many emotions, but this makes sense.
Right. Right. Um yeah. So, next step in this, it's interesting. I keep calling these steps. They're not really steps. It's just the next letter. Um
Mm,
is to understand, right? We need to understand what the emotion is and what is causing it. Um, so, knowing the cause of the emotions and seeing how they influence our thoughts and decisions is going to be what helps make better predictions about our behaviors. So,
mm,
the way that we do this is we have recognized, okay, I feel anxious. This is a feeling I have quite often. I feel anxious. Why do I feel anxious? Right? So this helps to understand the trigger. Am I feeling anxious because I'm in a new environment, or I'm stepping into a new job, or I'm dealing with new people? Or am I anxious because I am about to give a presentation on something that I don't really know? Or am I anxious because I don't know, I'm financially unstable and I have
mm.
been burying my head in the sand about it, and now it's
Yeah.
showing up and I'm anxious about, I don't know,
Yeah.
talking on the
My
phone to
kid is
somebody.
unhealthy, or I just ate some bad food, or my girlfriend's mad at me.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Um the big question here is why? Why the feeling and why at this particular moment, right? So why do I feel anxious and why do I feel it right now? And it's interesting. So the example that I gave about like financial stuff, I used to have financial stresses like years ago. And it would be like, I would just get so anxious, like coming home from work, or especially like close to payday or something. I would get really anxious, but have no real reason to be
Hmm.
in my immediate world. But it was because it was dealing with finances, right? I'm getting close to payday, or I have bills to pay, or whatever the case may be. But that was showing up in other areas of my life. And it wasn't until I was like, why? Why this and why now? Did I really like backtrack everything that I like, everything going on in my life? It's like, nope, this is good. This is good. Food's good. Dog's good. School's good. Money, not good. That's an issue. And that's where I'm able to like kind of identify it.
Okay. I like
At
that.
least at
I
least
like
the
that.
root of the problem for
Yeah.
that specific feeling for me. But
Right.
that's how we're able to get to the taking action parts.
Mm-hmm.
Um this part is kind of like it's like peeling an onion back sometimes. Um, you know, young kids, when they just ask why to everything under the sun, this is that moment that you have to do that for you.
Mm.
You have to dig back. And once you stop, you can't, or once you start, sorry, you can't really stop until you get to the root of it. Right.
Okay.
So I've heard and I want to say an adage, but just someone's little saying like you have to ask why 5 times, like dig back 5 times,
Oh, yes, yes,
right,
yes.
to get to the
To
root.
actually probably get the answer.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
because you're just getting something superficial until you get to the bottom of it. So once you start asking why, you can't stop until you get to the truth. Okay, moving on. L is for labeling.
Hmm.
um, this is where you make the connection between an experience and the precise term to describe it.
Okay.
That's where we get into our list of vocabulary words. Okay, people with a more mature feelings vocabulary are going to be able to differentiate among different emotions, like I feel pleased or happy, elated, etc. Where somebody who doesn't have such a vocabulary, i.e., maybe my friend here, you, that has like 3.
Ouch. Ouch.
Hey,
4. Okay, give me
you
the
said
benefit
it.
of the doubt.
You said it, not me. Sorry, my dog just shook his head.
I got like 5 now that we've been on this conversation.
We'll have like vocabulary tests later.
I love it.
Okay.
Haven't had one of those in a while. I used to kill those.
Right? It's been a
Good at
minute.
vocab test. Vocab and spelling test, that was my jam. All right, go
Yeah.
ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So, labeling emotions accurately increases our self awareness and it helps us communicate emotions effectively, which in turn reduces any misunderstandings, especially when we're dealing with other people.
Crucial as adults.
Crucial as
Because
adults
our
because
assumptions start sparking up like crazy as adults. Oh, I've seen this before. This is this behavior. Did you take a second? Did you label this correctly? Did you think about it? Did you ask why?
right.
See, I'm taking notes.
Yeah. So, what this does, what being able to label your emotions does for us as individuals, it legitimizes and organizes our experiences. Attaching a word to it gives it substance. It puts the meat on the bone of what we're dealing with emotionally. Yeah. It helps others to meet our needs because, like we just said, communication is crucial when dealing with other people, right? Not only does it help others meet our needs, it helps us meet the needs of others. Because if you can tell me how you feel or how what I do makes you feel, then I can say, I don't want to make you feel like that.
Right.
So I'm not going to do that, right? It's a really connecting thing as long as we're able to communicate it appropriately.
Yep. So I'm gonna take a pause. Is now a good time for me to take a pause for a thought that I have?
Yes.
Alrighty. So labeling, the first thing that came to my mind was addiction.
Ooh.
So we talked about diagnosing something earlier with R, recognizing it. And although you may recognize, hey, my friend has an addiction, or crap, I am dependent on this, the time that you actually label it is like the very important part. It's important for you to recognize it, but once you actually label it, then it's probably when you're actually taking action, taking the action that you need to. Like this whole time that you've been talking, I've like had like a bunch of comparisons to life. I know a lot of people, and maybe they aren't even listening right now. People were like, "Oh, this is about feelings or emotions." You mentioned emotions from the start. Like maybe they're not listening now, but if they are, like, this doesn't seem like it's not a thing. Like, oh, we're trying to train kids to have emotions so they can be the softer generation, or oh, this is another therapy technique that's not going to work for me. Although, like, both of those things are good. Okay, this isn't
True.
this isn't one of those things, but this is a practice that can probably get you logical people, maybe emotionally damaged people, to be just emotionally mature. So that's kind of like the thoughts that I've had, like, as you've been talking. Like this one right here immediately went to addiction. Like once I either can label what my friend has an addiction, or my friend can label, hey, what I have, like, internally, crap, I verbally say this is an addiction, or I write out this is an addiction. Like that's what labeling is. And that's when it starts to be internalized, like recognizing can be like, I see this weird behavior. Maybe I need to ask questions. You ask those questions and you get to labeling. So sorry, that's where like you've taken me up into this point.
Yeah, no, and that's good that that's where you're kind of headed with it. Real quick on the labeling thing, like you're right. This is where the rubber starts to meet the road. This is where it gets an identity, and by it I mean the
feeling.
emotion
Yeah.
that's causing you to do certain things.
Yeah. Yep.
It now has an identity and it can take action.
The emotion that makes you do certain things. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes
Because
sense.
that's really like the way we are hardwired and built is like we're generally emotionally, whether you logical people like to acknowledge it or not, we are emotional beings.
100%.
We have a spot in our brain specifically geared to processing and handling emotions.
Yep. I am logical because of my trauma.
Yes.
Because of my emotions, because of something that I'm afraid of, I have trained myself where I make sure that I'm mentally logical all the time.
Yeah. Right.
I recognize it. I haven't gotten to
That's
the rest of the letters, but I recognize it.
right. But that's all part of the process.
Mhm.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah. This is
Ding.
good.
But I'm glad that you cut me off right there. Not cut me off, but like kind of had that thought right there, because that's exactly where we're at. We are now into the action state of this process, this acronym. And that is where we get into expressing and regulating emotion. So, expressing is knowing how and when to display our emotions.
Mm.
In the long and the short of it, right?
Mm.
People who are skilled in this area understand that there are unspoken rules for emotional expression that deals with not verbally vomiting all over somebody about how you feel, why you feel the way that you feel, and things like that. It's, can I share this with you? Right?
Oh, okay.
Um, that's important, because
Okay.
sometimes the person that we're talking to might not be in a state that they can receive.
Yeah, that's fair. I was gonna
Right?
ask you how you feel about that because I'm a person that's like you should be able to share how you feel, but you're right on that person might not be able to receive it. Maybe
Right.
they're going through something and that might be a trigger, or they just don't want to hear it.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Um, I was just gonna say, and words are failing my brain. Um,
Sorry.
no, you're fine. It's me. Um, oh, another kind of question is like a way that you can address this with somebody is, hey, like, I have something that I need to get off my chest. Do you have space?
I like that.
Right? That's especially when it's dealing with like, I am in an emotional, vulnerable, volatile, like I could break down and cry. I'm on the verge of a mentee bee. I need to ask if my friend can actually like hold space for that and allow me to share that. Because if they can't, then it just does potentially more damage to me and damage to them for trying to
Yeah.
take on something that they can't,
In
right?
a relationship. Yeah. Yep.
Yes. So this is, according to the book, one of the scariest parts in this whole process, because this is where we have to be our most vulnerable, for one, because we're actually, now that we have given it an identity and labeled it, we now have to share this and we have to express
Woo!
it, and we have to say, back to my example of when I snapped at my friend, right? I was able to recognize that's not a normal pattern for me to just snap at my friend like this.
Mm-hmm.
I took into account, took into understanding why I was feeling the way that I was, did all of that. And then I had to go to my friend and say, I'm sorry. I am just feeling very irritable today.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know exactly what it is, but it's probably because I just have too many plates spinning in my life right now. And that is very scary to do. It's less scary when it's people that you know and people that can trust, people that you can trust to be receptive and either say, you know what, yeah, you were like a shitbag, but I understand you have a lot of stuff going on. How can I help? And
Right.
that was his response. He was like, yeah, that was kind of shitty, but I get it. Um, yeah. So, but it's scary, and I had to do this a lot when I was in business because I was a young leader. It was my first like leadership position, and I that's where I learned a lot of this kind of stuff and emotional awareness and intelligence and things like that. And I learned a lot of the base of these skills. Um, but it was through hard practice. And I had to go to my team and say, guys, like, this is what I'm dealing with. I am feeling XYZ because I am not very well practiced in this. I am new to this role and I'm a little bit overwhelmed. What surprised me in those moments is that's when everyone came together and said,
Wow.
we got you. How can we help?
Wow.
That's huge. Um, but so not only is that this the scariest part because this is where you have to be the most vulnerable, but this is where you have to decide what action you're going to take with regards to your regulation. Like this is a spot where the rubber meets the road and the action plan gets made. And then the next step is executing on that, right? So now we get into regulating. Regulating emotion is, like I just said, it's where you take the action.
I feel like that's pretty hard for most of us adults nowadays. Like
Super hard.
regulating emotion. Like the
Yeah.
amount of road rage incidents that have gone up in the past couple of years, I feel like is a clear indicator of that.
Yes. 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 And I mean, there's probably a myriad of reasons as to why all of that is. I think
Yeah.
myself personally, I think
Are
a
you a
lot of
road
that.
rage person?
I I don't I don't
Sounds like a yes to me.
probably
That long
probably
pause sounds like a yes.
um I am a person that moves with purpose.
I love the way you gotta say this.
And if other people don't move with a similar
There-
purpose,
it may spark an emotion.
my blood pressure rises
Hmm.
and the decibel of my vocal range rises. So I get
Okay,
very
that makes
loud.
sense. Yeah.
Largely in part was interesting. So I say that let me just get this out. I will admit I yell a lot in the car. I yell a lot. I think it's only it's coincidence that my horn also does not work.
That's great.
I say it's coincidence because even when the horn worked, I was never a honker.
Oh, okay. Gotcha,
Never.
gotcha,
Like I would
gotcha.
never
Okay.
honk. I was actually
I
a
was gonna
lot
say.
more calm. Ooh, this is interesting. I was a lot more of a calm driver when I had the option to be the asshole honker. But now that I don't, I
Now that
will
power's been stripped
scream
away
and
from
yell
you.
like they can hear me.
You're just singing Nickelback songs, though, right? You're not like actually screaming at them.
No, I yell at them.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yep.
Tell us more about how we need to manage our emotional
Yep.
expressions.
Moving on. So, what we want to do here with regulating our emotions is we want to monitor, temper, and modify reactions in helpful ways in order to kind of reach personal and professional goals. So, this is where you're going to decide I have goal Z, and this is what I'm feeling. These are, this is why I feel the way that I feel. This is how I have labeled it. These are the things that I can do. What's going to get me to Z?
Okay.
Okay. That's going to be kind of the best, I think, at least the best kind of process in how to actually take action with that.
Yeah. I have
Um,
oh, sorry, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
okay, sorry, just real quick. So, as I mentioned, this is the true blue taking action part of this whole skill set. And this, they put this at the top of the ruler hierarchy um, because it's the most complex skill to master.
Regulating your emotions. Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because they're emotions,
They're
and they pop
emotions.
up on you.
Yeah, they suck sometimes and they're hard to deal with. And if you've never been taught how to handle them, it's, yeah, super fun.
Yeah. So you mentioned that this is the highest on the hierarchy. Does that mean that you can learn these skills out of order?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
And you actually oftentimes execute them out of order. Um,
Mm.
one way to kind of think about it, I mean, think about like a baby, right? Babies suck their thumbs in a way to regulate and self soothe
Hmm.
the big emotions in their teeny tiny little bodies. But they
Okay.
don't know why, they don't know what they're feeling, things like that. They just know this is a way to regulate. This is an action I can take to make
Wow.
me feel better, right?
Wow. Okay.
That's like a bare bones basic. Um, but no, we can execute this thing at any step. Um, I have found I found myself in instances where I'll be, I don't know, doing. I remember one time, this just popped into my brain. I was on the phone with a friend and I was dealing with a whole mess of stuff in life, breakup, dealing with now how do I go to a single income on a house that I just bought, plus work, plus getting, changing into school, changing professions, all of this stuff. And I was on the phone with one of my friends. I was doing housework and she's like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I'm ironing my sheets." I was ironing my sheets.
Is this a
Out of
thing that you do often?
Nope. Nope. Out of character. But it was making me feel better. Why? I was anxious about everything going on in my life. I had no control over what was happening. My ex had just come and taken a bunch of shit out of my house while I was at work. I didn't have a freaking coffee pot. But I could in that moment I could do my laundry and I could have the crispest, cleanest sheets on my bed. By God, I was going to do that. So that's regulating. That's the action that I took to make myself
Hmm.
feel better
Yeah. Yeah.
because of
Reasonable.
all of that.
Yeah.
Makes
I like
sense.
to
I
go to
mean,
hotels and have the nice crisp sheets.
right?
So yeah.
It's nice. It makes you feel like it's nice to get into that kind of like a nice wrinkle-free bed.
Yeah. Hmm. Um. Yeah. Are you okay now? Are you good?
Yes.
Are you
Yes.
still ironing the sheets or
Not ironing the sheets anymore.
ironing? All right, sounds
Nope.
good. The other question I had is like, what are some of the benefits of developing these skills? So, like, someone might say, "Yo, I've made it this far in my life. I recognize my issues," or someone tells me eventually, or maybe the issues that I have made me this successful. Like, what's the benefits of developing these skills, even if it's just one of them?
That's a great question. One of the things I think are probably like the biggest hit that you're going to get for any of this is building your communication.
Hmm.
Being able to communicate with another human being in a clear and concise way is important to our success as a species. That's one. Okay?
Say it louder.
So, and the way and the real meat of that is, let's say you and I are having an interaction or you do something that is just like, or I do something, one of us does something that the other person doesn't like for whatever reason, doesn't matter, and we get pissed off and we just stop talking to each other.
Which happens so often already.
Happens a lot, right? Oh my god, that just took me into like dating and ghosting. How often do we ghost people in the dating world because of we've developed this like snap quick access to other human beings, so we don't really have to care, right?
I'm going to speak for the entire male species and just say that we don't do it very often. We don't have the luxury or need to, but I'm sure that maybe you have come across this experience once or twice.
Okay.
But go ahead, continue.
Okay. All right, friend. Yes. So, but here's the thing. I'll admit I've been guilty of it myself because I didn't know, like, I didn't know what I was feeling for one, and being able to like, and then I couldn't just be like, I don't want to talk to you anymore, but I don't have a reason why.
Yeah. And
Well,
that's okay. That is a
it's
really good point.
right. It's kind of, so it's easier to just like go silent.
That's a really good point. Yeah. I don't
Right?
even know what this emotion is, but I don't like it. Moving on.
Yeah. Here's the fun fact, and I learned this when I was working with my therapist a while ago. You can say, I don't want to, and not have to explain yourself. You can. That kind of goes a little bit away from this, but that's a step. That's something I can do because I am a people pleaser. I'm also an avoidant person. Like, I have an avoidant personality, so I would rather just be like, instead of like saying, hey, I don't want to talk to you anymore because I don't know why.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
That's
Sorry
gonna
to
be a
get
clip,
off
by the way.
on that little tangent, but
No, that's fine. That's gonna be a clip.
so yeah, ghosting is a big one, right? Because like we just talked about, people don't have the emotional ability to say, I don't want to do that, so I'm just like, they just don't have that, so they just stop all communication. Or friends, in some situations, I don't know if you've run into this, where it's like somebody pisses somebody off and we're just not going to say anything because I don't know.
I see that happening a lot, and I don't understand it. But I also, so if you have that, hopefully you're listening because this is gold right here. But I think that I developed most of my relationships to where, like, hey, we have to get the basis of, if I can't talk to you about the hard things, then I can't talk to you. So
Yeah.
That's a tough place to be because it's not always easy to develop friendships that way because people want to be happy. They know what that feels like,
Yes.
and they want to be comfortable.
Yes. And the struggle that I think a lot of people have these days, especially with the current climate of our environment, is there's a lot of entitlement, and people feel they're entitled to feel happy all of the time. And if you don't make me happy, that's a you problem, not a me problem. When in reality, it's always an us problem.
Yeah, I'm the one that's
Because
unhappy.
if I'm unhappy, it's because of how I am taking things.
Yeah.
But if we can't regulate and properly communicate and express our emotions with these people that maybe make us feel this way, or we feel this way because of this situation that we are in, that's not going to get any better. It's just going to get worse.
This would be a good time for you to go through the ruler method and to recognize maybe why you feel this way and to understand it. You know, and to express that maybe to that person.
Yes. And then you can talk it out and come up with an action plan on how you're going to regulate it and make sure it doesn't happen in the future.
And still maintain that friendship or relationship.
And actually probably make it better.
Probably make it better.
Probably.
Yeah. This is phenomenal.
That's
this
good.
Is great.
Yeah. Well, I'm officially off my soapbox.
This has made me feel educated.
Yes!
That's how I'm doing today. I'm educated.
You are educated. How do you feel about being educated?
Enlightened.
Enlightened. Ooh.
And grateful.
Ooh.
Is that
good
in your
feelings.
book?
That is in the book. That's in the book.
Yeah.
I'm excited. This has made me excited.
Yeah, this is great. Thank you so much.
You're
Seriously.
very welcome. Thank
I
you for
hope that
listening to me rant and rave about emotion stuff. The feels.
emotions, which we all have. It's the craziest thing when we're talking about we're making people too soft. And this is coming from a person that doesn't show emotion. I don't show emotion. But I know it's the craziest thing when people are like, oh, you're becoming too soft or you need to act manly, whatever it is. It's like everyone has all of these emotions. You just may not understand them, know how to deal with them, whatever it is. Like, but once you do figure that out, then you not only master yourself, but you can also probably communicate, to your point, with a lot more people. Oh, that person's just feeling this. I can communicate with them because I understand how that feels. I have one friend, maybe two now, but I have one friend that I think has tapped into almost every single emotion possible and knows how to like sit with it and talk about it. And I don't understand him fully, but he is really cool and he's willing to explore it. Though I think is the number one thing. Me, I as a logical person is like, I'm not gonna take the time to explore it. It's uncomfortable. Let's take it down this route. This makes me angry. I want to do this. Let's take it down this route. Like, you just bucket these up in together. But with you now, I'm gonna try to explore these emotions a little bit more.
Well, I am here for it.
Yes.
I will give you space and I give you permission to feel, my friend. And
Alrighty.
that's on feels. That's on emotions.
That's on emotions.
Ta-da!
We will see you next week.
Toodles. And that's on that, guys. Don't forget, anonymously or otherwise, we want to hear from you. So make sure to reach out to us at that'sonThatEpisode@gmail.com. You can also find us on Instagram and Twitter. Our handle there is @that'sonThatPod. We're going to be posting episodes weekly, and we'll also have some solo pop-up episodes here and there as thoughts and ideas pop up in our individual lives. So make sure that you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of that. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. We really hope that you stick around and enjoy this journey with us. We will see you next week.
Next week on That's on That.
If you look at some of the numbers of the cuts that we made, I think we saw that, I got it right here, but like the industrial goods manufacturing sector is up 1,700% this year.
I'm sorry, say again. 1,700%?
1,754%. Energy companies have announced they need to lay off or cut 1,000% of the people. Okay, and this is compared to last year. Education 944%. Transportation 5. I mean,
Have you ever felt insecure in your job? Like it was, if like it could be gone at any moment for you.
yes. That company, I mean, like once I legitimately watched, when I say the top performers, as in people that I relied on to do my job, I watched them get let go. And not just like one or two at, once. It was like legit like 20 people at once gone, all the people that I relied on. So once I saw that, I was like, oh, well, clearly it doesn't matter how people are performing, what value they have to the company. Like clearly this is not the factor in which we're judging on. And at that point, to be honest with you, I don't think that I could change my mind because I was certain that there's nothing that I could do. Legit, like there's nothing I can do to say, oh, I want to keep my job or need to keep my job. Whatever. Like there's nothing I could do because they were doing all the right things.
Yeah,